Hi there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel. I am so happy to be joining Daisy and Jen on their Christmas card lift. And I'm going to try and play along a couple of times throughout the month. This card is what we are lifting, and I showed you the address or the URL where it came from there if you're interested in that. But I am doing mine in a different orientation. So theirs was more portrait. I'm doing mine in a landscape orientation. My card base is more in the cream color tones, so I'm going to be using some creams and some whites to create this card. And I am basically doing a pretty close scrap lift, not exact, but pretty close. So what I start out doing is I'm using my centering ruler to help me find the middle of the triangle. So I take a measurement at the bottom, and then as I go up to the top, I am just finding the center using the centering ruler. You can see there, especially it's much easier on a strip of paper than it is on a wide piece of paper, but finding the center, and then I am cutting my triangles. And I'm not being super mindful of the height. I know I'm not going to want them all the same height and all the same width, so I'm kind of trying to change it up a little bit. And I do know I can trim the bottoms off if they are too wide, but for the most part, I'm not worrying, or not if they are too tall, not if they're too wide. If they are too tall, I can trim the bottom off. But so I'm not super worried about the height. I am more paying attention to the width, because I want to make sure that there is variation in it. And so far I'm liking how it's looking. I'm pulling out some wood grain paper, some kind of a coppery color, one that has the florals with the copper. I'm going to pull in just some different textures as well. And actually I am going to pull out a crimping tool, and it's super old. I actually got it used from somebody else, and I don't use it very often, but I don't really destash my tools because you never know when they're going to come in handy, and I think they're just a great thing to have. I mean, tools can be used no matter what you're doing. So this particular piece that you just saw me use there, that was a Tim Holtz wood grain folder, and it's one that does the really deep impressions. So I just used a piece of cream cardstock. I spritzed it a little bit with water and then ran it through my die cut machine to give it a wood grain texture. It's just a tone on tone wood grain because I'm not doing anything with any ink or anything to bring out that texture. But I thought it looked really cool. And by spritzing it with water, it allows the fibers to kind of bend a little bit easier in the embossing folder, and it doesn't, you don't risk ripping it as easily. Now I took this piece of vellum, I measured it to be 1/4 of an inch smaller than the front of my card, and I ran it through my sewing machine with gold thread. And what I'm doing here is I just pulled the threads through the back, and I used a little bit of my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive right along the same line that the thread is has created, and I have pulled those little extra pieces of dangly thread to kind of just follow along with the thread that is actually stitched through there, and that adhesive will hold it down, and then I just trim off the ends once it's dry. And so I don't have extra pieces of thread sticking out. You can't really see the adhesive through it because it dries matte and it dries clear, and it is along the same line that the stitching is through. Now I didn't make you sit through watching me cut all of my triangles, but I use the same method for all of them. Basically, if you start with a rectangle, find the center at the top, and then cut to the corners at the bottom, then you'll get your triangle. My difficult problem with triangles is getting them all the same size. I guess it's not so hard if you start with a rectangle for all of them, and the rectangle is all the same size. But yeah, sometimes I struggle with those triangles. They're not the easiest thing for me to work with, and I always have a hard time kind of getting the placement down of where I want them. But in this case, I'm really liking the way it's working. I am using some foam tape. It's really a thin foam tape to kind of pop up a couple of them so that there is some dimension. I don't want them popped up as much as the fun foam would create. That would be a little bit too much dimension, at least for this particular card, in my opinion. So I am just using that really thin foam, and I can't tell you where I got it. I got it from a friend of mine, and it came in a big roll, and I've had it for years. So I apologize that I can't tell you where that's from. Now, I do have this glassine bag that I had also cut in with the intention of using back there, but because I am using that piece of vellum that has it has a print, it's a printed vellum, the glassine bag is not showing up great. And so what I'm going to end up doing is I am going to use a doily over that glassine bag, and that is what they did in one of the for one of the triangles or the trees in the inspiration piece. So I thought that would work out well because it makes it a little bit darker, but it gives the glassine bag gives the doily a little stability. So that triangle that's on the far right hand side, that is the one that I ran through the crimping tool. It's a Fisker's crimping tool, and it's kind of got a wave to it. I didn't do the one that's straight across. I did the one that's kind of got a wave to it, and I really like it. It gives kind of like a nice motion to it, if you will. I don't know. It just looks really cool. It just gives some added texture, and it's a little bit fun. So here I am. I'm going to just adhere that glassine bag with the same Nouveau Deluxe adhesive. I'm going to just stick it down and hope for the best. And I do have to trim the bottoms off of a couple of these because they do end up too tall. I kind of, when I was doing them, like I said, I wasn't paying attention a whole lot to the height. I just knew I wanted to keep it smaller than the overall card size. But then when I added the vellum behind everything, I needed to take it down a little bit more because I don't want them to really extend out past the stitching that's on the vellum. So then the card in the inspiration piece has a piece of twine wrapped around it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. And I thought I better go ahead and do that before I actually stick everything down with this liquid adhesive. So I went ahead and did that, and I left the string a little bit long so I could tie a knot in it. But I had all that glue on the back already, so I didn't want to wait too long to put the piece down onto the vellum because my glue was going to dry. So I didn't take the time to knot it or anything like that. I figured I could do that after the fact. It's not normally how I work, but in this case, because I didn't think to put the twine down before I stuck the glue down, that's what I ended up having to do. Now I have this Tim Holtz punch that I really love. It's kind of just a sprig of, I don't know if it's pine or whatever, redwood, I don't know. But I use that a lot in my Christmas type layouts, and so I just punched that cream color vellum, and I am just tucking those bits underneath where the knot is in that piece of twine. Now here I am using some of my fun foam to just put on either side of this stamped image. I stamped the image in Catherine Pooler Icing on the Cake, which is like a brown. And the stamp set that I am using is from Stampin' Up, and it's an older one. It's called a Round Array, and it has a punch that is designed for it. And it doesn't have a picture or anything on it. It doesn't have a sentiment on it. It's just kind of a, it's almost like a snowflake, kind of. And so I thought it, in the dark brown, it looked really nice, and I really liked the way that it looked. So I thought that was the perfect piece to put right over that knotted area and bring everything kind of together. And that is pretty much it. So go check out everyone else who is playing along with this fun hop. I really appreciate that Jen and Daisy has opened it up to all of us, and we get to play along with them. So I'm looking forward to doing a few more cards. So come back on every Friday this month, and I should have a new card for you. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.